Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with the Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry Rozema. I'm the town manager for the town, and today I have with me Curt. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, Terry. Curt Woody, Director of Economic Development and Tourism for the Town of Marana.
Curt, how long you been with the town?
10 years now.
10 years. We came on pretty close to the same time.
I believe so.
About 12, so yeah. So before we jump into some of this other stuff, just a kind of an icebreaker here. What do you think sets the town of Marana apart from other communities?
Well, from an economic development and tourism aspect, I think it's our assets. I think it's the people. I think it's the town staff and the mayor and council that is a very supportive town council. We have great parks and recreation, outdoor activities, tourism assets with our golf courses and the Ritz-Carlton, and just the positive vibe that the families feel that they've got a community that they feel close to.
Excellent. I can tell why you're our economic development guy, Curt. So in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about something that's certainly on the hearts and minds of people here in northern Marana, and that is a grocery store. Now, I know this is one of those things that's near and dear to your heart, something that you've been working on for a long time. And I think, first and foremost, I want to read a couple of questions, just kind of set the context for what we're going to be talking about. And this first question says, is a Walmart store planned for Marana main section of town in the near future, quote unquote? And the second thing there is, I asked once about getting a grocery store in Gladden Farms and was told no one has expressed interest in building here. Has the town of Marana ever considered petitioning for companies to come build with incentives? We need a grocery store across from the new Circle K in Gladden Farms. The constant talk on many neighborhood Facebook pages is everyone wants a quality store like Sprouts or Whole Foods to come in. How about you guys contacting one of them to consider looking at the area? So that's the context for what we're talking about. You kind of see the mindset, the mentality of some of the residents, where they're coming from. They're very passionate about this. They want a grocery store. But before we talk about grocery stores, I want you to kind of give us a 30,000-foot level overview of economic development, kind of explaining how economic development works, because I think people think, hey, we go contact the Sprouts and say, hey, Sprouts, we'd like you to come to Marana, and we'll give you some incentives to come, and we want you to go on the corner of Street A and Street B, and they go, okay, we'll do that. But that's not exactly how it works, is it?
No, it's not. There's a lot of developers and private landowners out there that once they are in a specific zone, which really incorporates quite a few different types of businesses, they can build whatever they want. We've been trying to attract grocery to Lon Adams and Tangerine for the 10 years that I've been here and even before that. But before we start with the grocery, let me give you that 30,000-foot level of what economic development is and what it means.
Excellent.
Economic development is both a process and a set of desired outcomes. Okay, philosophical, what does that mean? The desired outcome is an increase in living standards and quality of life. So when we talk about the term economic development, the first thing that comes to mind are the three pillars: business attraction, business retention and expansion. You've got businesses here, help them grow their employee base, and then business creation. Take an idea and take it to bricks and mortar. Those are the three pillars, but economic development is a much broader umbrella. Mm-hmm. It has to incorporate healthcare, tourism, public safety, recreation, education and workforce development, quality of life, community beautification, and infrastructure, both in transportation infrastructure and water and wastewater infrastructure. So we have to do all of those things well in order to attract businesses or keep the ones that we have here.
Much more encompassing than, hey, just reach out to somebody and ask them to show up on the corner of streets A and B then.
That's exactly right. So let's go to the grocery question. When I came to the town of Marana 10 years ago, soon to be 11 years, one of the things that I was tasked with is to get Fry's to go ahead and continue to build on that corner of Lon Adams and Tangerine. They had already put in about $2 million in infrastructure, so it made sense for them to go ahead and build. We were just coming out of the Great Recession, and lending institutions, developers, and businesses were still very skittish about expansion plans. It took probably about 4 years even for residential to start picking up steam again. Residential up in the Gladden Farms area was very strong, with commercial and retail lagging significantly behind that. I had many conversations with the Fry's development arm up in the Phoenix area, and they said, Curt, it's not if, it's when. They were waiting for the number of rooftops to come before the model finally showed that it would be a successful store.
And they never really gave you like a number of rooftops, right? It wasn't like they said, okay, as soon as we hit number X, we're coming.
That's correct. It was very vague, the answers that I got from them. And I tried to convince them that the standard model of drawing a circle and counting the rooftops within that does not fit the Gladden Farms area. The Gladden Farms area is an island. It's cut off by Interstate 10 and the Santa Cruz. And so I did demographic polygons to show them what their demographic base would be. It was a far greater population than they had imagined, but still were not quite ready to make that move forward to build the facility. Then Amazon buys Whole Foods in 2017, completely turned the grocery industry sideways. Everybody stopped what they were currently doing in that industry. Kroger's stock dropped 23%. They were trying to figure out, what do we need to do to compete with Amazon and Whole Foods now, because they're going to be delivering food to the consumer. So Fry's was still spending a significant amount of capital, but it was not going to the bricks and mortar. It was going to the customer experience. Online ordering, pick up in the parking lot of the store, or driveway deliveries. And they did that for several years. All along, we were trying to convince them we still needed grocery up in North Marana. They finally decided that that model no longer worked. And they hired a retail specialist to come in and tell us that it wasn't going to happen, and we should rezone that property to either single-family residential or multifamily. The staff did not support that. The mayor and council did not support that and said, no, we would not rezone that property. We've promised everybody there's going to be retail on that corner, and that's what we're shooting for. Well, 2 years later, Fry's was not able to sell that corner. So where does that bring us to today? I'm sorry to say that you will not be getting a small Fry's neighborhood store.
Oh, that's not the news we wanted to hear, Curt. That's not what we wanted to hear.
Instead, you're going to be getting a Fry's superstore, larger than the one at Cortero and Silverbell, and almost the same size as the Tangerine and Thornydale store. As we speak, the plans are in-house for permitting and plan review, and their goal is to break ground by early summer.
Hey, there's a mic drop right there. Somebody dropped the mic because you're telling me right now, Curt Woody, that we are getting a Fry's food store in Gladden Farms.
At the corner of Lon Adams and Tangerine, and it will have supporting retail pads alongside of it as an anchor.
Wow, huge, huge news for our community. People are going to be ecstatic. Now, I've said for a long time that whenever the Fry's comes, who's ever responsible for bringing the Fry's, we're going to build a statue of them out in front. Right? So I don't know who gets the statue, whether it's going to be you or whether it's going to be somebody from Kroger or whether it's going to be somebody from someplace else, but we got to get this statue built.
I think it's the mayor and council.
Mayor and council, I like it.
They stuck to their guns about not rezoning that corner piece, and we got what we wanted.
So you know what, Curt? I'm going to touch on that here a minute because when I became town manager a couple years ago, the Kroger reached out to me and said, hey, we really want to revamp that area. It's not going to become a Fry's, so on and so forth. What do you think? I said, man, I got to tell you, I'll talk to the council about it, but I think the answer is going to be a hearty no way. So yeah, sure enough, I floated that by a few council members, and with a resounding, that's not going to happen, not on our watch. That was zoned for a Fry's. People are expecting a Fry's. And we're not going away until some grocery store goes in there, whether that's Fry's or something else. And here you're telling me it's going to be essentially a Fry's superstore.
That is correct.
Yeah, fantastic news. Fantastic news. So you're thinking, or they're thinking, May of 2023 they're going to break ground.
Yeah, it'll be right around in that area, May or June of 2023, with an
Wow.
opening the first quarter of 2024.
Wow, huge news. Well, Curt, awesome to have you here with us today. Anything else we need to cover on that? I mean, I don't know how we can possibly surpass that news and give something else. That's kind of the news that people have been waiting for. So, man, anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I think it's important to know that it's not just the fries on that corner, but surrounding retail pads as well.
Yeah, so what are those surrounding pads going to be?
Not only will the fries be the anchor of that corner, but there will be surrounding pads with retail as well, much like you would see at Tangerine and Thornydale or Silver Bell and Cortero Road.
Right on. So let me ask you this. So this is one of those questions too. So people are going to say, well, we want a nice restaurant. We want, a sit-down coffee shop. We want whatever, right? So how does that work? I mean, are you going to determine and dictate and direct what's going to happen with that? Is that going to be the council that decides what businesses go in there? Tell the people how that works, Curt.
It's a team effort. It's the staff, it's the mayor and council, it's the community telling the developer that owns the property, these are the type of amenities that we want. Now, ultimately, they make that decision of who comes into those retail pads, but we can sure keep that conversation going around the restaurants, around the certain amenities that are desirable for the community.
Yeah, and those wants and desires have already been expressed to the folks that are going to be responsible. Barclay Group, who was one of the entities involved in bringing this to fruition, those discussions have been had. But like you said, I mean, ultimately, if they think a bank, if a bank is not something on the top 100 list for our residents, but Barclay Group and Kroger and whatnot, they think that that's going to sit well there, fit well there, do well there, they're going to bring a bank there.
That's correct. As long as they have the zoning for that particular type of a product, they can bring that in.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, I think that kind of brings us to a close on this episode. And so appreciate you, Curt, being with us today, talking about economic development, talking specifically about the question on the minds of people in Northern Marana about a grocery store in Northern Marana. So appreciate that. And we'll close this episode out with an appreciation to you and to all of our listeners. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please follow the town on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.